Theodore Bundy, who was charged with the brutal slaying of 2 Florida state co-eds and the beating of 3 others a year and a half ago.
In the shadowy corridors of American criminal history, 2 names stand out not just for their brutality, but for their ability to evade capture while hiding in plain sight: Ted Bundy and Rodney Alcala. These men, separated by geography and temperament, shared a sinister genius for manipulation, exploiting societal trust and systemic weaknesses to commit atrocities that stunned the nation. But their stories are more than mere chronicles of violence. They are cautionary tales, windows into the psychology of predation, the fragility of justice, and the societal blind spots that allow monsters to thrive. This documentary delves into the chilling parallels and stark contrasts between Bundy and Alcala, unraveling how their crimes exposed flaws in law enforcement, media, and public perception. Through survivor testimonies, forensic analysis, and archival records, we confront haunting questions. How did these men weaponize charm and intellect to deceive entire communities? Why did it take years and countless lives to stop them? And what enduring lessons do their cases hold for a world still grappling with the specter of serial violence? Biography and criminal background. To understand the making of a killer, we must trace the roots of their pathology. Theodore Robert Bundy and Rodney James Alcala emerged from vastly different environments, yet both carried seeds of destruction planted in childhood. Ted Bundy, the boy who never knew his truth. Born in 1946 to Eleanor Louise Cowell, a 22-year-old single mother, Bundy's birth certificate listed his grandfather as his father, a lie maintained for years. Grew up in Philadelphia, steeped in secrecy and shame. His grandfather, Samuel Cowell, was a violent, abusive figure, a possible blueprint for Bundy's later cruelty. Excelled academically, earning a psychology degree from the University of Washington. Friends described him as charming and ambitious, but beneath the surface lay disturbing behaviors: stealing, voyeurism, and fascination with Nazi memorabilia. Early crimes. By his mid-20s, Bundy had begun prowling college campuses, though his crimes were initially dismissed as isolated incidents. Rodney Alcala, the artist of death. Born in 1943 in San Antonio, Texas, to Mexican immigrant parents. His father abandoned the family when Alcala was 11, plunging him into poverty and instability. A gifted student, he won an art scholarship to UCLA, but dropped out after erratic behavior. Drafted into the Army in 1964, he was discharged within a year due to psychological instability. Early crimes. By 1968, Alcala had already been arrested for the rape and beating of an 8-year-old girl. Diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, he served just 34 months, a leniency that would cost lives. Bundy's pathology was forged in a web of lies and repressed rage, while Alcala's stemmed from abandonment and a warped sense of artistic entitlement. Both men learned early to wear masks: Bundy, the affable law student; Alcala, the bohemian photographer. These personas became their most lethal weapons. Modus operandi and victims. Bundy and Alcala hunted with precision, yet their methods reflected their unique pathologies. Bundy sought control. Alcala craved chaos. Both, however, shared a predator's instinct for exploiting vulnerability. Ted Bundy, the charismatic predator. Targets: young, white, middle-class women, often students with long hair parted down the middle, e.g. Linda Ann Healy, 21, Donna Gale Manson, 19. Tactics: feigned injuries, arm slings, crutches, to elicit sympathy. Impersonated authority figures, police, firefighters, to bypass suspicion. Signature: post-mortem necrophilia, decapitation, and the preservation of victims' remains as trophies. Notable case: the 1974 Lake Sammamish abductions, where Bundy, posing as Ted, lured 2 women to their deaths in broad daylight. Rodney Alcala, the photographer of pain. Targets: Men, women, and children across age and racial lines, e.g., Robin Samsoe, 12, Jill Barcombe, 18. Tactics: used his camera as a lure, offering modeling opportunities. Engaged in grooming behavior, gaining trust through artistic collaboration. Signature: prolonged torture, staged photographs of victims, and the collection of personal items, e.g., earrings, locks of hair. Notable case: the 1979 murder of Robin Samsoe, whose disappearance sparked a media frenzy and led to Alcala's eventual capture. Bundy's crimes were methodical, almost ritualistic, a reflection of his obsession with dominance. Alcala's were improvisational, driven by a sadistic need to document his art. Yet both exploited societal biases. Bundy's victims were dismissed as runaways, while Alcala's photography studio became a hunting ground masked as a creative sanctuary.
Was attempting to discredit the state's bite mark evidence by showing that his teeth could not have made that mark. Experts had indicated that the person who made that mark most probably had such a chip.
Police investigations, a dance of incompetence and ingenuity. The investigations into Bundy and Alcala were marred by jurisdictional disputes, technological limitations, and a shocking underestimation of their cunning. In both cases, the killers stayed steps ahead, until luck and perseverance tipped the scales. Ted Bundy, the Houdini of homicide. 1975, Utah. Arrest: Bundy was pulled over for erratic driving. Officers found handcuffs, a mask, and a crowbar. Charged with attempted kidnapping, he faced just 15 years, but his charm swayed judges, granting him library privileges and unsupervised visits. Escapes. In 1977, Bundy leaped from a courthouse window in Aspen, Colorado, then fled again months later from a Florida jail. During his freedom, he slaughtered 2 Florida State University students and a 12-year-old girl. Breakthrough. A surviving Chi Omega sorority house victim identified Bundy, while forensic experts matched his bite marks to a victim's body. A landmark use of odontology in court. Rodney Alcala, the Phantom with a Camera. 1971. Parole violations. Despite a child molestation conviction, Alcala was released early. He violated parole repeatedly, even appearing on ABC's The Dating Game in 1978 while actively killing. Robin Samsoe case. Alcala's pawnshop receipt, linked to the girl's earrings, placed him near the crime scene. Yet his first trial ended in a mistrial due to juror bias. Cold case revolution. In the 2000s, DNA and digitized fingerprints connected Alcala to murders in New York and California. A storage locker revealed over 1,000 photos of unidentified women, many believed to be victims. Bundy's intelligence and knowledge of legal loopholes made him a formidable adversary. Alcala's transient lifestyle and aliases, John Berger, obscured his trail. Both cases underscored the pre-digital era's fatal flaws: no national crime databases, no DNA profiling, and a reluctance to believe serial killers could be charming, educated men.
Jury out of the courtroom, the state's star witness Nita Neary. She caught a brief glimpse of a man wearing a ski cap running out the door of the Chi Omega sorority.
Trials, theatrics, trauma, and tenacity. The trials of Bundy and Alcala became macabre spectacles, revealing their pathologies to the world. Bundy played the role of brilliant attorney. Alcala, the eccentric artist. Both used the courtroom as a stage, but neither could outrun justice. Ted Bundy, the narcissist on trial. 1976. Utah trial. Represented himself, delivering theatrical opening statements. Surviving victim Carol Duranche's testimony sealed his fate. 1979. Florida. Trial. Defiantly cross-examined sorority attack survivors. Fiber evidence matching his pants to crime scenes proved damning. Final act. On death row, Bundy granted interviews to psychologists, offering hollow insights into his crimes. He confessed to 30 murders on the eve of his 1989 execution. Rodney Alcala, the delusional artist. 1980 trial. Convicted of Robin Samso's murder, but appeals overturned the verdict twice. In 2010, a consolidated trial linked him to 5 killings via DNA. Courtroom antics. Represented himself, delivering nonsensical arguments about light and shadow in crime scene photos. Prosecutors played his dating game appearance to show his manipulative charm. Final days. Died in 2021 at 77, never expressing remorse. His storage locker photos remain a grim puzzle, with investigators still working to identify victims. Bundy's trials showcased his need for control, even in defeat. Alcala's revealed a mind untethered from reality, where murder was performance art. Both men forced victims' families to endure decades of legal battles, a secondary trauma that persists today. Psychological analysis, the minds of monsters. What separates a Bundy from an Alcala? Psychologists identify key distinctions in their motivations, but both shared a core trait: the utter dehumanization of their victims. Ted Bundy, the power junkie. Diagnosis: narcissistic personality disorder with sadistic tendencies. Motivation: a need to dominate and own victims, fueled by inadequacy stemming from his illegitimate birth. Quote from FBI profiler John Douglas: "Bundy didn't kill out of rage. He killed to feel godlike." Rodney Alcala, the sadistic voyeur. Diagnosis: psychopathy with schizoid traits, DSM-5. Motivation: sexual gratification intertwined with a desire to curate suffering. His photos suggest a fetishization of control. Quote from forensic psychologist Dr. Catherine Ramsland: "Alcala saw his crimes as art. The camera wasn't just a tool, it was a co-conspirator." Bundy compartmentalized his violence, maintaining a normal life with girlfriend Elizabeth Klupfer. Alcala, by contrast, wove murder into his identity, leaving a trail of clues as if daring authorities to catch him. Yet both men exemplify the mask of sanity, the ability to mimic empathy while plotting horrors. Aftermath and legacy, shadows that still linger. The ripple effects of Bundy and Alcala's crimes endure, in shattered families, reformed laws, and a culture forever wary of charming strangers. Legal reforms. VICAP, 1985. A national database for violent crimes, inspired by Bundy's cross-state spree. Megan's Law, 1996. Public sex offender registries, a response to predators like Alcala. Parole overhauls, stricter monitoring of violent offenders post-release. Cultural impact. True crime media. Bundy's case birthed a genre with documentaries probing the killer next door archetype. Art as evidence. Alcala's photos spurred debates about using creative work in criminal profiling. Unanswered questions. Bundy. Despite his confession to 30 murders, only 36 victims are confirmed. Skeletons discovered in the Pacific Northwest remain unidentified. Alcala. Hundreds of photos in his storage locker hint at dozens of unknown victims. Families still search for closure. Bundy and Alcala forced society to confront uncomfortable truths. That evil can wear a friendly face, that systems designed to protect can fail, and that justice, however delayed, must always speak for the silenced.
Rodney, I hope you don't sleep at night. I hope you have dreams, because if there is a heaven and a justice, that's what I'm going to do when I die, is haunt your dreams.
Conclusion. Ted Bundy and Rodney Alcala were master manipulators, but their greatest deception was convincing the world they were anything but monsters. Their stories are not just chronicles of individual evil. They are mirrors held up to society's flaws, reminders that vigilance is the price of safety. As we close this chapter, let us remember not the killers, but those they took: the students, the artists, the children. Their lives, cut short by darkness, compel us to seek light, to question, to reform, and to never look away.